Hi, Bible fans. I'm here with a detailed look at the Cultural Background Study Bible, the NRSV edition, large print. I have a review of the cover, which is an AA rebind of this edition, but I'm looking at the contents today. And this is a unique study Bible. It is not a devotional. It's not an academic critical biblical studies book. It is a look at the backgrounds. And in that sense, it's like a commentary, a background commentary slash Bible dictionary that goes along with the Bible. I'm going to read a quote by one of the two chief editors, John Walton. He says, "Even though the Bible was written for us, it wasn't written to us. When we take our Western modern culture and impose it on the text, we're putting its meaning that wasn't there, and we're missing the meaning that the text has." I think you can use any culture, that's African, Eastern, Latin American. You could say that about any culture at any time, other than the original culture of the Mideast in the time of the Testaments of whatever the writing was occurred. So what we're saying is we can't just take our time and read the Bible flat. We have to look at what it meant then and apply some of those nuances to our understanding of it so we can get to where we have a fuller understanding of the Bible. And that's what a cultural study Bible does. It looks at the background behind. This is a large Bible. And by large, I mean it is a hugely thick Bible, about 3 inches thick. I think I give the dimensions in one of my other, but it's you can see all with the maps and all. It's 2,408 pages, and it has lined paper in the back. It has maps with index. They're Zondervan product. They are not classy, high quality like the Oxford or Cambridge maps. Very functional, and the fact that they have an index here means you can find stuff. You find a letter, you find a number, boom, boom, boom. You can find a city or a river, whatever you want to look for. The layout was done by 2K Denmark, a famous for their layouts, and that means how they put the pages together. Everybody seems to be using them now. They seem to dominate the market. Some of the unique features of this Bible, I'm kind of going from the back to the front because I kind of did it that way because I wanted to not have this be the usual perusal from the front to the back, and then you get quicker as you go in the back. This is a unique feature. The NRSV authorized Concise, Glossary, and Concordance. It's not exactly a concordance. It is some aspects of concordance, but it takes keywords, persons, identifications, and a few verses they're found in, and gives you location and a little bit of background on them. So Abraham, etc. It's not every location where Abraham's found, but it gives you some starting points for him. And that's a great way to go. It is property of the National Council of Churches, who is the owner of the NRSV originally. All right. Another very valuable feature, and it's important in this Bible, is the index of articles. Articles are not found at the end of the Bible or the beginning or in the middle. They're found interspaced throughout the whole Bible. So they weave them in little boxes and pages and etc. So you can find the index at the back and you can actually look up things. Example, the golden calf. You can look and find it in Exodus 32 on page 167. So instead of looking for that article at the back of the Bible, you just can use the index and find it somewhere in the middle. Very valuable feature. Now let's go ahead and flip to the front. The two authors. Now let me discuss them. They're editors. They call them the authors, but they're the editors. This is a compilation book, Bible study book. It is not new material. They took existing material from commentaries and Bible dictionaries and wove it together to make this study Bible. And that's fine. But what you're getting is, in its essence, is you have now gleaned these other sources, which you could have had in a multi-volumes, and put them in a Bible. And it's a one-volume stop. So that's a good thing. And it gives a lot there. These two authors, editors, actually that's the proper title, editors, one Old Testament, one New Testament, tell me a great deal about who and the outlook of this material. Well, we know that Zondervan and owned by Harper and, etc. Nelson, and they are, where do they sit in the theological spectrum? Knowing degrees in schools, I can tell you. Both these men have 1 feet planted in one in each world. They have a degree from an evangelical world, from a school, and they have a degree from a mainline academic type school. I'll give you an example. John Walton has his MA from Wheaton, a very evangelical school, PhD from Hebrew Union College, very prestigious and academic mainline, you would call it critical biblical studies school. Craig Kiner has a MA, MDiv from Assembly of God, which is an evangelical school, PhD from Duke, which again is a mainline critical biblical. So both these men can say, I have experienced both perspectives and I can bring a sensitivity and a knowledge base to that. I think that's important because when you have people that come from only one, they do not have that and they tend to be just advocates of that one perspective. So I appreciate this, that the editors selected here are men who, what I call them moderates. I'm not sure they would label themselves that, and I don't want to impose on them titles they might not, but that's how I perceive them. And then maybe at this point they have swung to one way or the other, but let's say they have a broad appreciation of both camps, and they will do that. Now, where did these, let's go back to here. Where'd they get their material from? Well, Zondervan is the owner of a lot, and HarperCollins is the owner of a lot of material, a lot of commentaries, and so they can mine this type of stuff. InterVarsity Press provided the study notes through their Bible background commentaries, and the articles came from various HarperCollins publishing endeavors. So woven through this is, instead of being new material, was selected material that these men, acting as editors, mined. They mined it and sewed it together with skilled people who were able to weave it in there in a way that kept our attention, kept it relevant, kept the story moving, but also provided us a lot of background right where we needed, not that we had to go look things up. And that makes it a very valuable way. They ask you a question: how does this study Bible differ from others? And I would say, and they answer it then: missing pieces of information that are not explicitly, but that the readers knew are provided. All right. You are living in America, and they give examples, are in America, and you know certain phrases mean certain things, or certain background means certain things. But from a person from another part of the world will hear, who knows English from a classroom setting, will hear this expression, and they will not understand, even though each word to them makes sense. They understand the individual words. They do not understand the meaning of the context. Well, this is the same in Scripture. We have things that are said that we can get the words together and say, well, I understand the individual meanings of these words, but what's behind this? There's some cultural meaning here that we don't have. And this is what's being lifted out and given to us. There are a lot of fine articles and lifting things that are also taken and brought to us. We have examples of, you see here, of translation of Hebrew words to English. We have a really fine section on archaeological finds that are ancient texts, that's other languages relating to the Old Testament. So other languages that are similar to Hebrew that gave us understanding of meaning of Hebrew words. We have Old Testament chronology, which is fairly common in older Bibles, etc. We have a lot of these kind of articles are just sewn. This is full of it. The Torah. Now we get to Genesis. Let's talk about book intros. Again, these were lifted out of the commentary series. They take a neutral position on authorship of Genesis or the Pentateuch. They say there's no certain authorship, but they also say that there was a probability that large portions of it were oral long before they were written. That is a critical biblical position, but that those oral traditions go back to the time that are 2nd century millennium BC, which would be the time that Moses is, to be put into. So, you're saying we have a Moses tradition that was oral, that was later written down. Okay, that's not a very conservative view that sees Moses having had personally written the Torah, but it does put back the material to Moses and the final writing at a later time. In the book of John, and I looked at two places. I look at Genesis and John, and almost every one I look at. John is mentioned as the author is going to be one of the 12 because he has a lot of personal knowledge of Christ, an eyewitness, and reflecting after a life of long contemplation upon the meaning of Christ's work, that very well the tradition that he wrote it in the 90s, the decade of the 90s, reflects well upon that it'd be the Gospel of John could in fact be written by John himself in that decade, as tradition says it is. Let's look at the notes. I like the notes. They are not critical, but they have a lot of good material. And in 1:1 it says, in the beginning, in the Old Testament, beginning refers to a preliminary period of time rather than the first in a series of events. In English, we might refer to such an initial period as a primordial period. This leads us to conclude that the beginning is a way of talking about a 7-day period rather than a point of time prior to the 7 days. Basically, I think this means is primordial period, not days. So it's just a period of time. This Bible has center column references. It uses the Collins system. I've identified 3 or 4 different reference systems, and for the NRSV, and this is one of them. Something I like a lot about it: the extensive color charts and pictures. You have archaeological sites, but you also have things. Let me get to it. 2031. You always find something quicker when you don't have not saved it, huh? Here we go. This is an iconography from icon from the 14th century, which is Eastern Orthodox. So we have classic Christian art as well. I like that. Classic art, archaeological pictures and finds, all woven in to keep this story moving. I don't think this is a Bible that once you go through it once and read the articles, that it has no relevance to use again. So many times the notes in a study Bible are just that. They're used up after one time. Like, they aren't very much there. You read them once, it was lovely. Now you put it back on the shelf. But this is a resource can be used multiple times. And in concert with an academic like the New Oxford Annotated Bible, I would find this to be a very excellent companion study Bible. And I would really encourage people who like a Bible like that to also have another one like this. Yes, you can have commentaries, but you will constantly be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, looking up, looking up. You aren't going to do it. This gives you a succinct way of doing that, and then allows you, if you really want to dig, to pull up your commentaries and go deeper, or your Bible dictionaries and go deeper. But this will give you a little quarter page or a half page, a lot of information right at your fingers, and that is a huge difference. So what can I say about the Cultural Study Bible, Background Study Bible in the NRSV? There's nothing like it. I would say go with it. Get one. You got New Oxford Annotated or Interpreters. This would be the other pair in my arsenal, the other arrow in my quiver. If I was a NRSV guy, and I'm an NRSV guy, I still have Bible dictionaries and I have Bible commentaries, but this makes, for a daily user, just an awesome tool. So that's all I have. God bless.